Hey guys, I just got out of Early Man, which is the new film from Nick Park, the Aardman Animation film. Which, if you're not familiar with Aardman Animation is like claymation, and it's a British claymation studio. They did all the Wallace and Gromit stuff and Chicken Run, and they've had some other movies. A pirate one, I forget. I think it was just called Pirates. I haven't seen that one. And they did one a few years back, well, several years back, that was in the sewers. It had to do with rats or mice or something. That one I also did not see, and that one I think was CGI. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that one was their attempt at doing CGI, but then they went back to the stop motion or claymation animation. And they also, from the American side, if you think way back, they did those Chevron car commercials. Aardman Animation has a very specific style with the teeth and the eyes, and they also did something else. They did this short, really good short cartoon that they eventually turned into a series, I think, in England. I don't know if we ever got it here. And it was called Creature Comforts. That's like one of the first things I ever saw from Aardman, and it was really cool, and I was really impressed with that one. And I didn't know about Wallace and Gromit. I don't know if it was a thing at that time yet. But I did eventually see the Were-Rabbit movie, Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. So all their stuff is mostly pretty good. Some of it's really good. And then some of it's okay. They do this thing called Shaun the Sheep, which was on the Disney Channel, and it was a series. And they've actually got a movie coming out. I think their next movie is a Shaun the Sheep movie. But I've never really watched Shaun the Sheep. I think I saw a little bit of it once, but it didn't like blow me away or anything. But some of their stuff I really like. Chicken Run I thought was fantastic back when it came out, and the Wallace and Gromit stuff, of course, it's very, very popular. This movie, a lot of people have compared it to Year One, which, if you don't remember, Year One was I'm going to turn this car off because it's been acting up a little bit. Year One is a comedy movie that came out several years ago, and it starred Jack Black and Michael Cera, and it was about cavemen and them sort of discovering the Bronze Age that was developing around them, and that's what this movie is also about at first. So there's a lot of comparisons to that one, and people will just say this is a better version of Year One, and then it becomes a movie about soccer. That's the thing about this movie. For the most part, it's a movie about soccer. It's your standard underdog sports comedy. Like a really good comparison to me is Dodgeball. This is sort of like Dodgeball mixed with Year One. Now, I'm going to say this. I really like Year One. I like Jack Black. I like Michael Cera. I think this is the kind of movie I think Year One is the kind of movie that Michael Cera is great in, and Jack Black too. I really like that movie. I think it's very funny. I think all the jokes are funny. But in general, people did not like Year One, as far as I know. But as far as this one being a better version of that, honestly, I enjoyed this movie. It's a good movie. I think I enjoy Year One more, because Year One, I just find it funnier. I just find the jokes really funny. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, I really enjoy it whenever I watch it. This movie is really good. Aardman Studios stuff, it's always good as far as I've seen. The animation is always amazing. I love that you can see the thumbprints in the clay. You know, some studios do stop motion, but they don't really use clay. I feel like they must be using clay here because you can see the fingerprints in the clay and everything. But yeah, it's visually very stunning, always, and it's, you know, it's got a lot of clever humor, a lot of adult humor, and then it's got a lot of British humor, and I feel like this one, more than the others I've seen, has humor that I feel like I didn't get all of the jokes because I think they were like British jokes, you know, like even a lot of referential jokes that I didn't quite get. But for the most part, I mean, it was funny. I laughed a lot in this one, but it wasn't like constant, like hilarious. It was good. It was a good movie. I think the biggest issue I have with this one that stops me from loving it is that it became a sports movie. It became and I mean a good kind of sports movie, but like a typical, we've seen it a million bazillion times, kind of like underdog sports movie where they have to play a big game that they have to win, or else you know, they're gonna lose something very important to them, and that was the plot, you know. And it didn't. It's like, you know, you could have done this in any time period. It was just happened to be cavemen. It was kind of weird. Let's do a soccer movie, but let's make it cavemen. I don't know. It wasn't really a movie about being cavemen so much as it was a soccer movie. That was kind of a weird thing. It was just a weird idea. And it wasn't bad or anything at all. It just wasn't very original, in my opinion. I mean, they had a lot of great jokes. They had a lot of I just got really distracted because a really beautiful girl on a bicycle just rode by, very scantily clad, right in front of me on the sidewalk. Very distracting. Anyway, so I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, it was just, it wasn't the most original thing in the world. It didn't really have a lot to do with being a caveman. I mean, they did work it into, you know, they wove the story into it being about being a caveman, but it was weird. It was just like, I did not, when I saw the trailers for this movie, I didn't really know too much about what the plot was going to be, and I had no idea it was going to be just about learning to play soccer so you can win the big game. This movie called Early Man. I was expecting something more like Year One, but it was good. I mean, and it's, you know, if you want to take your kids, it's a good movie to take your kids to. It did have a few. I mean, it had a lot of funny stuff in it. I enjoyed the whole thing, but there were a few things, like there's this joke about a message bird. If you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, and that was really hilarious. I love that part. But in general, it was just a good comedy. But it wasn't spectacular. It wasn't the best. I don't think it was the best idea. I don't know. I don't know if we need any more of those kind of like sports movies that are kind of all the same kind of deal. But it had clever ideas. They did clever things to it. But it's sort of like if the Flintstones made a movie about, which I think they did a movie about baseball once, way back in the day. But, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, it's sports, and, you know, it's Laugh Olympics. It's sports, but it's these weird oddball characters. I don't know. It is what it is, and it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable animated film. Actually, I think I caught the last showing of this movie in town. So I think if you want to see it, you're going to have to like rent it or buy it or something. If you love Aardman, you'll enjoy the visuals. The animation's great. The characters are great. They have like this group of cavemen, because it's about this group of cavemen that have to play against. They have to play soccer. They have to learn to play soccer against this this Bronze Age soccer team. You know, they have this huge city. They're all developed, and the cavemen are, you know, the primitives, and they're trying to save their land. They want to continue to live on this in this like a valley that the Bronze Age people want to mine for more bronze, and so they're kind of fighting for their land and also their freedom, because they made the little bet that if it didn't win, then they'd become they'd have to work in the mine. They'd become like slaves. So yeah, it was that kind of deal. And but yeah, the animation was beautiful. It was funny. If you like Aardman, I think you'll like it, but I don't think you're gonna think it's one of the great animated films. Visually, yeah, visually, yes, but in terms of just the plot, and it was just okay. It was an okay movie. It wasn't anything special, except for the visuals, because Aardman just does amazing visuals. So that's the whole thing. I mean, there's not much else to say. It was just a little bit of a letdown that it was a soccer movie, and that was like the plot, because I'd rather watch Year One, you know, for that. You know, I'm gonna watch Cavemen and stuff. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed the whole thing, and I would watch it again. I mean, I wouldn't mind having it in my animation collection, because it's very impressive animation. And it is funny. It's good. The characters. Oh, I was gonna say about the characters. So it's a group of cavemen, right? And then they have a sidekick. Well, they have a pet. One of the main caveman has a like wild hog or a boar or whatever as a pet. And I have to give him credit. I mean, that wasn't even really a sidekick. It was a full-on character in the movie. So, you know, they did a great job developing all these little characters. You had the tribe of cavemen, then you have the villain who's in the Bronze Age side. I think that was Tom Hiddleston. I know Tom Hiddleston was somebody in the movie. I think he was the villain, but you wouldn't, if it was him, then you wouldn't even know it, because he had like this French accent or something. It was interesting. It's a good movie. It's just not a really original movie. It's not as much about cavemen really as you would think. Check it out if you like Aardman. That's the best like thing I can say about it is it's Aardman, so it is good. It's like Pixar. I mean, the worst thing that Pixar does is still better than most non-Pixar stuff. And this is Aardman, and Aardman is like probably the next best thing after Pixar. I don't know. I mean, I like Disney. I like all Disney stuff, so for me it's like, you know, Disney and Pixar, and then yeah, Aardman might be the next best. I don't know. I do like that other studio that does stop motion with Paranorman and Coraline and all that. So yeah, it's good. It's just okay, but it's you know, visually stunning. It's Aardman. I was about to say, did Aardman do Arthur Christmas? But no, that's not. I haven't seen Arthur Christmas at all. But no, that's not Aardman. And I know that's computer animation, but I was just trying to remember who did that. I don't know who did that. I don't know who did that one, but I really need to see that sometime. Anyway, yeah, you know, if you feel like checking it out, a new Aardman film, then check it out. I really need to see that Pirates one. I've seen it at Big Lots for like $5 on Blu-ray. I really ought to pick that up if it's still there, just to check it out. Okay, guys, that's it for now. Later.